Alexis Figueiredo, Saratoga Black Lives Matter.
Alexis, recently we've heard several incidents have happened in Albany involving APD, involving civilians, and involving what I would characterize as a use of force. People have been shot, people have been hurt. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, obviously, us as a group and me individually, I'm completely against any forms of state-sanctioned violence, which is what we see happen in APD too many times. We've seen that at our protests. We see that in our community. We've seen them kill people. We've seen them lie and say that people are coming at them with knives. And then when we've seen the videotape, we've seen the person was running away from them. So, I'm obviously disgusted. And I'm most disgusted, I'm not going to say most disgusted, but I'm even more disgusted that it's happening exactly, on Juneteenth. It's happening in the observance of Juneteenth. It's happened on actual Juneteenth. They sat here, and I've seen a line of APD cops come out with pepper spray and bear mace, ready to attack people that were out there celebrating freedom and celebrating the little holiday we get, the little tidbit that they gave us back of reparations in the form of a day where all people get off of work, all state workers, It's not like a thing for African Americans in America, but, so it's obviously disgusting.
Now, we've been following lots of incidents that involve APD, that involve your group, that involve independent media.
Yep.
We are in the middle, I would characterize, in the middle of an investigation about you, and Albany Police lieutenants and detectives, or like the Albany Police brass supposedly had intel.
Yep.
Right? They had information. And we're sort of seeing the Albany Police target you and your group, arguably peaceful protesters, while at the same time there is what seems to be evidence of them actually abusing Albany citizens, shooting them. How do you feel about the fact that APD accuses you of violence throwing a water bottle, but they are using riot agents right now?
Yep. Obviously it's crazy. The parallels are wild as hell. There's no equality to that. It doesn't equal up. You got somebody throwing a water bottle at a wall. After his sister got bashed in the mouth and assaulted by a police officer in front of at least 40, 50 people. And then they persisted to bear spray us, hit us with batons, and do everything else. It's crazy because, the only violence I've seen have come from the police. I haven't seen any violence from BLM, and most specifically, my group. Zero violence whatsoever. What I've seen is us bringing the community together as we did today. We continue to do, to fight for the community's causes and the problems that are going on in the community, taking that and, pretty much being the people that are boots on the ground that are going to come and address these issues, because some people are scared to do those things, and a lot of people don't want to do it, So we honestly shouldn't have to be fighting against what we're fighting against, because it shouldn't be like that, but, we're here.
Now to some of the I would consider some of the deeper questions. So, if you could address some people directly, if you could address Police Chief Hawkins, if you could address Albany Police Lieutenant Devin Anderson, what might you say about their conduct, about their accountability?
Yeah, obviously there's no accountability whatsoever, and that's why we're fighting to end qualified immunity, so we get in your asses. And then when you continue to commit crimes and violate, the rules and policies of APD, you will be sued. We will hold you fully accountable. We're not gonna stop being in the streets either. It's one thing for us to do things like go into meetings and have community events, but we're also not gonna address direct action things when they happen. We're going to be there, plain and simple. But yeah, obviously Chief Hawkins shouldn't have a job. They brought him in here to be a face while the increase of violence was going on, pretty much for him to take the brunt of it and so-called connect with the black community. He's been doing the exact opposite, plain and simple. So, do your job. Do better, buddy.
Yeah, how might you, Chief Hawkins was brought into the Albany Police to make it better, as you said, to add community.
Yep.
There have been more violent incidents since Chief Hawkins has been the Albany Police Chief, including violent incidents against civilians.
Yep.
Just tell me, There was an incident involving tear gas being expelled in Albany. Could you just
Yep.
go through what happened?
Yeah, I mean, for one thing, I'm going to say before that is that Chief Hawkins came from Chicago, a place where there's plenty of violence. Clearly, he didn't do good over there. They got him out of there and sent him to Albany. But when we talk about tear gas, people were out there protesting after George Floyd was murdered. After we seen somebody sit here with a knee on their neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds while they were screaming for their mother. And people had to literally watch somebody be murdered in front of them. People came out. People had a lot of emotions, a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings when it came down to what happened. This was very personal to our community. To see somebody who looks just like you held in that predicament in the middle of summer is insane. Obviously, people were out there. People were angry. The cops were angry. They came out during the daytime. They act like they were all peaceful and they were here with us and kneeling and blah, 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 playing the games. But as soon as the lights went down and it got dark, they proceeded to shoot people with tear gas, arrest people, hit people with batons. Once again, the same stuff that we see from APD on the regular. We don't see them doing this at the Kegs and Eggs that happen. We don't see them doing this at the college town places. And, the only time we do see it happen at the college areas is when it's a party full of black kids in front of a party. When they're having a college party and it's the black kids and the black fraternity having a party, that's when they come down and shut it down. They come through with 10 cop cars, which once again, we pay for these things. We pay to be abused by these police officers, and these college kids actually bring money and economics to our community. That's what they're there for. They pay a lot of rent, pay a little tuition too well.
To be clear, APD released this tear gas in the city of Albany.
Yeah, they released it all over the city of Albany. They made sure they didn't go anywhere in the suburbs, but they made sure they hit downtown, all down by South Station, where they can't be seen. A lot of things happen on the south side of Albany that nobody really sees. After North Pearl, South Pearl, you don't see much after that. There's no grocery stores over there. There's not a lot of opportunities for people over there. What you see is a few homeless shelters and police stations.
And just to be clear, were there civilians who were in the areas that were tear gassed?
Of course there was.
Not part of the protest?
Of course there was. Of course there was. There were people who were sitting right on their porch, older people, elderly people, people in wheelchairs, kids coming inside their houses. And once again, they wouldn't have done that in a suburban area. They wouldn't have moved with that type of force whatsoever. So they decided to in Albany because it's a black community. They don't care.
Kind of moving over to some Saratoga officials, we're at the tail end of the Juneteenth event that was held in Saratoga, very close to SPAC.
Yep.
There was music, there was food,
Yep.
there was dancing, there was activities, there was a free plant giveaway.
Yep.
Actually, there was some art. Other organizations were actually here. We got an interview from Planned Parenthood, who was also part of this sort of coalition.
Yep.
How would you characterize the fact that we did not see any specific Saratoga city officials here? We did not see the mayor here. We did not see any of the city council, even though it's believed that they're in support of your community events.
Yeah, I would say the only city council member that we've seen was the commissioner of accounts. Him and his deputy came to support us. Dylan Morin came, but besides that, we didn't see Ron Kim. We didn't see Medita. We didn't see our commissioner of public works, who was actually the first black person to be elected in the public works in history of Saratoga Springs. So it's very puzzling to see a black man not here to celebrate Juneteenth with his community and with a Black Lives Matter group and a community group that's out here making changes for people like him and his children as well. He has children who are people of color. So it's very troubling. I don't know. Hopefully we have a conversation soon about that. Saratoga BLM has not had one conversation with the commissioner of public works at all whatsoever. None.
So you're saying hopefully you have a conversation, as in, can I take your words and the words of your group to say that you're willing to talk to, like, if the mayor and other public officials show more interest, you'll continue the conversation? Is that true?
Yeah, we will continue the conversation, but the conversation can be shifted at any time. We're not going to always be ha-has and hee-hees and all that, nothing has changed as far as Saratoga Black Lives Matter. We're still going to be steadfast. We're going to still call out politicians for what it is. So when they're not doing what they need to do, we're going to call them out. It doesn't matter if you're my friend or whatever. You come to our events, smile at me, and wave at me, take a picture with me, a little photo op. But if you're not actually showing up to these events where there's not no photo ops, and these events that are for the community, let alone a day like Juneteenth, it just amazes me. Saratoga Springs doesn't have their own Juneteenth celebration. There is none. But there is one for 4th of July. So
these public free community events surely have to cost your organization a great deal of money.
Yep.
The question that I would have is, do the city officials make any effort to provide you with some of these public funds to help fund some of your community events?
Not whatsoever. We know that Saratoga Springs is actually overfunded right now. They actually have an excess of money from taxes and everything else since COVID-19. They've actually been on the upswing, so they're actually doing great. We haven't had one invitation to get a grant, one invitation to get any support. We haven't had them trying to pay for a space for us to have our community events, which are literally, once again, community events, the events that the city should be doing themselves. So no, we haven't received any, but we'll see.
These events are free to anyone who would want to attend.
Yep, they're clearly free to anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. Once again, Black Lives Matter, but there's not just black people here. There's all people here, and nobody has to pay for anything whatsoever. Anytime we do mutual aid events, the things that we provide are for the community. So whether we have to get it out of our own pockets or whether we have to fundraise for it, we're going to get it done, and we're going to keep it going. We've been doing it now for 2 years. We're going to keep it moving.
One more thing. If someone were to watch this and they were to say to themselves, I want to help Saratoga BLM, what are some of the ways they could actively help your cause of what you're doing?
Yeah, definitely. So we can talk about small things. You can start off with sharing posts. Bigger things than that is sending us an email, Saratoga Black Lives Matter at gmail.com, or going to any of our social media pages on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, send a message. Wanting to volunteer, wanting to help out. If you don't want to be a part of the movement, meaning you can't come out here and be boots on the ground, but you have funds, you want to donate, you can hit up our Cash App, Venmo. We don't have any funding right now. We don't have any grants. We're not a nonprofit. We're literally a group of young black people who came together, grassroots, to try to make a change in our community. So pretty much just supporting us, sharing our posts, seeing what our events are, coming to our events, and that's support to me. And that's pretty much it. No justice, no peace.